Tonight, NDC writes to Speaker of Parliament vehemently opposing attempts by the majority to recall the House to consider a raft of what they describe as urgent government business. We have details as the NDC insists they will only welcome a recall of the House after the December 2024 election.
We will not be coming to Parliament. What is critical? What is the critical thing we are talking about? Is it the approval of the two justices of the Supreme Court, or is it the tax waiver we are talking about? Is it the law? What is critical about those things?
We have all the angles covered here. We'll be speaking to people who matter when it comes to the parliamentary business here on Top Story, always brought to you by Telecel, connecting energies and holy insecticide spray and coil. Enjoy a holy sleep. Well, tonight, Speaker of Parliament Alban Bagbin is being urged to reject a request by the majority in Parliament to recall the House to consider what they consider urgent government business. Now, you will recall that Majority Leader Alexander Afenyo-Markin sent a request to the Speaker last week, Friday, requesting that the House reconvened to sit on Thursday and Friday this week to deal with a number of outstanding government business. The Speaker has not responded as of yet to this particular request, but if the House is recalled, that will be the fourth emergency recall of Parliament in 2024 alone. The NDC, on the other hand, say they are vehemently opposed to the request, citing a myriad of reasons. I have Kweku Asante, who is our parliamentary affairs correspondent, joining me in studio with details of this. Kweku, we will get into the NDC opposition shortly, but first, take us back. What is the majority's request?
So on Friday, the 22nd of November, Alexander Afenyo-Markin did write this memo to the Speaker of Parliament, and it was addressed to him on the request to recall Parliament to consider outstanding public business. He said, Right Honourable Speaker, the sixth meeting of the fourth session, which was scheduled to take place on the 7th November, adjourned without any consideration of government business. Mr. Speaker may recall that there were a number of urgent government business that had been advertised and scheduled to be carried out prior to the adjournment of the House. These included requests for tax exemptions, the Ghana Financial Stability Fund loan, consideration of the President's nomination for appointment as Justices of the Supreme Court, ratification of a bauxite mining lease, a lithium mining lease, a number of bills. The memo continued that, Mr. Speaker, I submit that reconvening Parliament at this juncture would send a powerful message of national unity and institutional stability. It would also demonstrate that even as we approach the peak of the campaign season, even as we approach the peak of the electoral season, Parliament remains steadfast in its constitutional duties and committed to advancing the national interest through bipartisan consideration. In view of this, I crave your indulgence to consider exercising your mandate under Orders 57.3 and 58.4 to recall the House to consider the outstanding government business. He goes on to quote the specific clause and says, respectfully, if the above request finds favor with you, I propose that you consider Thursday 28 November and Friday 29 November as the scheduled dates for this emergency recall. It is my view that once done, members can go back to their constituencies over the weekend to continue with their campaign towards the December 7th general election. So this is the letter that did go from Alexander Afenyo-Markin, and markedly different from the previous request that we had seen. It did not trigger Article 1123 of the Constitution, which would have sought to compel the Speaker to do so. It just applied to the Speaker to, on his own volition, based on his discretion, recall Parliament.
Interesting. But the NDC is raising an opposition to this.
Yes.
They first raised legal issues with what's happening. What's their stance?
Yes, the NDC caucus have also sent their own memo to the Right Honourable Speaker Alban Bagbin. It says, the NDC, they call themselves the majority in this. It says, the NDC caucus in Parliament has taken notice of a request to you, Right Honourable Speaker, praying you to recall Parliament to consider so-called outstanding public business. We note further that the petitioner has not satisfied the threshold and requirement under Article 1123 of the Constitution and under 53(1) of the standing orders, which requires signatures of 15% of members of parliament to trigger a recall of the House. And so they say that because this request has not been triggered on the basis of Article 1123. It is simply applying to the Speaker's discretion and he must not heed to it. It says, Right Honourable Speaker, the petitioner's request is premised on an appeal to you to exercise your discretion to recall Parliament to consider what they have termed high priority government business. They proceed to enumerate the said business, Brace.
Interesting. Now, the NDC then provides further reasons, especially regarding the impending election, on why they are opposed to this particular recall.
Yes, according to Dr. Cassiel Atoforsen, they wish to submit that based on Alexander Afenyo-Markin's own request, the Speaker is not obliged to recall Parliament, and that the petitioner has not demonstrated that there is any emergency nor urgent government business to warrant a recall of Parliament with barely 11 remaining days to the crucial 2024 election. It continues that having had a distinguished parliamentary career spanning over 3 decades, Mr. Speaker, you are very familiar with the demands and rigors of parliamentary elections. As we speak, MPs from both sides are in their constituencies having critical engagements with the electorate ahead of the December 7 election. This election is not only a destiny-defining election for Ghana, but a career-defining one for many of members of parliament. Mr. Right Honourable Speaker, the petitioner has proposed Thursday 28th and Friday 29 November as the dates for his ill-fated and ill-timed recall. Should this request be granted, not only will MPs be required to truncate these important engagements with the electorate, but MPs will have to contend with logistical and other challenges to commute over long distances to reach Accra. This proposed 2-day sitting, if acceded to, will mean MPs will have less than 1 week to conclude their campaigns, train their polling agents, and make key logistical and other election day arrangements. This will disadvantage many MPs and set a situation is most unfair. Mr. Speaker will recall that this is the 4th time in 2024 alone that the MPP caucus is requesting an urgent recall of the House. During a similar recall as recent as Thursday 7 November, the NPP caucus, which requested the recall, abandoned parliamentary chamber and failed to show up. They go on to say that, in view of the foregoing, it is our considered position that there is no urgent government business currently before the House to transact, and Parliament can therefore reconvene immediately after the December election and come and do business. The current Parliament continues until the midnight of 6th December, and in less than 2 weeks, Ghanaians will be going to the polls. So Dr. Cassiel Atoforsen suggesting that the only recall that the NDC will support is a recall after the December 7 election.
Interesting. But just before we came into the studio, we've been reading that a lawyer to the Speaker of Parliament, Thaddeus Sore, has also been commenting on this particular development. What has he been saying?
He has been putting out a rather lengthy and very intriguing post on his Facebook, and it's titled "Of Bat Wisdom and Crybabies." Let me just read the introduction and summarize the other part. It says that there is this lizard that purports to urinate into the sky, thinking that person is urinating unto God, but the urine returns to him because of gravity and all that. He goes on to say that certain persons who he describes as crybabies have sought to push the Speaker of Parliament to take certain decisions in court. Let me quote. It says, the Speaker is hauled to the most exalted court of the land, the Supreme Court. The effect of the court's action definitely disrupted Parliament sitting, and Parliament has not been able to recover from it. After chalking a momentous victory against the Speaker of Parliament, accompanied by initial threats of treason among others, the Speaker refuses to obey the court's judgment. The judgment has not even been entered, and it has not been served on the Speaker to enable him obey this judgment. Now, there is a subtle appeal that the Speaker should use his own discretion to recall Parliament. Now, the victor, that is Afenyo-Markin, does not intend to use Supreme Court power to compel the Speaker to do what the victor wanted the Supreme Court to compel the Speaker to do. Now, there is urgent business to be conducted in Parliament. The specific business considered urgent is not demonstrated. No direct urgent government business is mentioned. The Speaker is now seen, I may now say with a smile, respected as the final authority to decide matters relating to Parliament. It goes on and say that recall as it is now, if the Speaker of Parliament is to recall Parliament, it may be at a disadvantage to persons because of the requirement on the Speaker to be it. Let me quote that for you. It says that not satisfied because it is clear that this cry for sanctions have not been heeded. And it goes on to refer to the Attorney General when it comes to this matter. It says, Sisyphus conveniently forgets and is oblivious that when Parliament adjourned twice, it was because his own members denied Parliament of a decisional quorum.
Okay.
Sisyphus, like crybaby, requests for a recall without any regard whatsoever for the interest and convenience of many other MPs who at the moment are definitely out from Accra and doing important business.
So comparing the AG to Sisyphus, there would later tell you more about Sisyphus. But we have to take you back because this letter from the NDC caucus to the Speaker follows a particular warning from the NDC party to its MPs to stay away from the House should there be a recall. Listen to the national chairman of the party, Johnson Asedun Katia, speak in the Western region about a week ago.
If the MPP initiates another parliamentary recall, no NDC MP will honor it. No business before Parliament can be described as emergency. Clearly, the MPP wants to pursue a corrupt agenda, and they appear not to be satisfied with the corruption they have pursued in the last 8 years. They want to use the last few weeks left to undertake corrupt activities. And so the judges can say whatever they want, but we will use parliamentary laws to do business. If Parliament is undermined, democracy will cease to exist.
Democracy.
Let's go on to the phone lines now and speak to Habib Idrisu. He's first Deputy Majority Chief Whip and he's Member of Parliament for Tolong as well. Grateful to you for joining us here. Now, the NDC caucus raised some very cogent argument to oppose the request by your leader for the Speaker to recall the House. Your reaction?
What are some of the cogent arguments you said they have raised? Because reading through the memo, it is completely out of place. It indicates that they don't understand the recall that the majority seeks to have for. So I don't get it, because if you listen to the minority to forcing, you could clearly see that he wanted to bring controversy, still defining himself as the majority caucus. Who made them majority when there is a Supreme Court ruling? And he's quoting Article 1123 of the Constitution. We didn't recall Parliament based on Article 112 of the Constitution. So for you to say that we did not meet the requirement under Article 112, it is better he go back to read our memo and the orders that we seek to invoke the Speaker's jurisdiction to reconvene Parliament.
All right. But I mean, their point 10 says they are referring the Speaker to what happened on Thursday, 7th November 2024, when you got Parliament to be recalled, but you failed to turn up. And they are saying that because of that, the Speaker cannot continue recalling the House when you don't avail yourself to attend to these very important government business you cite in your letters to the Speaker.
But when you actually look at what happened on that said date, it is not the case that the majority did not turn up. It was the case that the minority, the NDC, had a game plan to be able to bring chaos and bring confusion into Parliament. We were not going to be party to that, and we had indicated that. That day we had a caucus meeting in the morning. The deputy clerk notified Jetro. I informed him personally that we were in a caucus meeting, and when the speaker is going in, then he should let us know. For the first, if you are following Parliament, you realize that before the speaker goes into the chamber, he had meeting with the of Parliament. That day, it never happened. He would just walk straight into the chamber without having any meeting. We were waiting for the speaker to invite us. And the reason for the recall, it is not based on the fact that speaker called and we couldn't come. There's no precedent to the effect that majority have called or reconvened Parliament, appealing to or telling the speaker to reconvene Parliament. There's a counter memo to say that Parliament should not be recalled. Who is the head of government business? And is the business for them? If government have business to be done, is the majority leader who is the head of government business. And if he so thinks that there is agency of government business to be done, so to be it. It is not left to the minority to determine whether there is a serious government business or not. They have that tendency of trying to disrupt Parliament. They have the tendency of trying to bring confusion. They have the tendency of disrespecting the rule of law in Ghana. When you read through their memo clearly, it is an indication that they don't understand the parliamentary proceedings. It's an indication that they disrespect the decision of the Supreme Court by still referring themselves as the majority caucus.
Well, but with 11 days to the elections, why can't these businesses wait? Because they are proposing that the House can be reconvened right after the election. Why can't these businesses wait till then?
But that's what I already indicated, to the effect that government business is run by the leader of government business, and that is the majority leader, one of Afenyo-Markin. But appropriation on account is very crucial. The NDC, are they telling us that we should not pay any salaries to workers in December, being a month of...
That's quite unfortunate there, but we'll still try and bring back Habibi Drisu because there are still more angles to this that we need to address. But we have Dr. Rashid Rahman, who is Executive Director for Africa Center for Parliamentary Affairs, on the line. Doc, I'm grateful to you for joining us here. Now, we are in a state where probably we need to find a way to get Parliament to reconcile. This conflict has still not been resolved. What do you make of the two caucuses, and their positions taken by the respective parties?
Is that for me?
Yes.
Sorry, the line dropped, so I missed out.
Sorry.
Yes. Yeah. Just at the beginning of can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yeah, I was saying that at the beginning of this crisis, some of us warned that if care was not taken, we are going to see one legal argument after another, and that would just completely immobilize Parliament. That is what we are seeing play out at the moment, because, like we said previously, this is a political conflict, and there was the hope that, some political tools of negotiation, of compromise, and so on would have been used. Because if you read the memo from the majority leader to the Right Honorable Speaker, in fact, it was
elections, can't it? Hello, Habib Idrisu.
I think that was what Dr. Rashid was saying. If you look at our memo, what we seek to do was to give the discretion to the speaker and not the majority. They are not invited. We did not trigger any constitutional provisions because the memo that we have sent to the speaker was discretionary. Because if you look at our standing orders in order 58 and 57, the speaker have that discretion to be able to reconvene parliament. But if you look at the tangent that the minority is going, rather than seeking to reconcile and build consensus for us to reconvene parliament, they are rather going a tangent of confusion, bringing problems, further problems.
No, Habib, they cite
Article 1123, but we actually give the discretion to the speaker
yes,
to reconvene. So my simple response to what you are trying to say is that it's not left to Atu Forson, the minority leader, to determine what is priority on government agenda, the leader of government business.
But I mean, they cite the times we are in, that some of you are in your constituencies trying to retain your seat, which and know the sort of positions that you have. If you recall the House now that you should come and sit on Thursday and Friday, they are looking at the logistical challenges and all of that they will go through. Can this business wait, and then after elections, you still have some more time till January 6th, 2025 for you to handle these important business that you refer them to?
So is it the case that if we sit on Thursday and Friday, members are going to lose their seat for sacrificing 2 days? Remember, it is our duty. We were elected to be in the House until the 6th of January. And for that matter, when we are called upon as members of Parliament to attend to the agency of the House, we ought to do that irrespective of what actually it is. So I don't think that it is something that's, and I'm even happy that the majority leader in our memo, we have indicated when we want the business to be done. 2 days, members can be able to plan ahead. We have serious government business that we need to take. Mind you that the lifespan of this parliament is short. We have a lot of holidays in December and a lot of things to happen. So for that matter, it was prudent for us to be able to do a lot of things, especially the appropriation on account. It is important that we get this thing done. And I think that the memo by the minority is rather unfortunate, and I think the speaker should not entertain it in any way.
Habib, I'm grateful to you for joining us here. Dr. Rashid Rahman, so where do you stand on when the House must be recalled, given the period we find ourselves?
Well, I mean, it's very difficult because, I mean, on the one hand, I mean, they are very deep in campaign, but on the other hand, as Honorable Habib has said, I mean, this parliament exists until midnight, January 6th. So members of parliament have a responsibility. There is nowhere in our constitution that says that, you know, during campaign you shouldn't come to parliament. However, this has become very difficult because of the legal battles that are being fought. Otherwise, in normal times, I believe that they would have been able to work out some compromise and come and do this business and go away. So back again to the issue, let members of parliament be careful when they invite the court into their space.
I'm grateful to you, Dr. Rashid Rahman, for speaking to us here. He is Executive Director for Africa Center for Parliamentary Affairs. Earlier, you had Habib Idrisu, who's First Deputy Majority Chief Whip. My name is Samuel Brace. Thanks to Telecel, Connecting Energies and Holy Insecticide Spray. Oil, enjoy a holy sleep. Up next is Newsnight.